This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 352, the top 10 sales and marketing tips for 2021. A babbling conversation with returning guest, Neil Kristianson.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
1, 2, 3.
Testing. Hello, Pat. Can you even see the screen? We're on. Are you recording?
It's recording right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so what do I do with my gloves?
Yeah, they're behind you there.
There we go. What do I do with my sheet?
I can't track everything.
Welcome, Neil. You ready to babble?
I am ready to babble, Pat. And I'll do my best not to chatter teeth as I'm babbling.
When's the last... You and I are sitting around the fire here.
We are.
We're not in the studio.
No. But we are at Sales Babble World Headquarters.
We are. And I should make sure and take a photo of this before we go.
It'll be quite the photo.
Yeah. We have lots of air moving around, so you're not giving me the COVID-19.
No, we're not touching lips or anything.
No.
We're not even sharing air. But we are sharing a beautiful fire.
It's a nice fire.
I appreciate the fire you have built for me today, Pat. This is very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice and warm. We got some sun.
We got some sun coming. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday.
Yeah.
And when's Christmas? A week from today?
A week from today.
It's a week from today, right? So it's actually not too bad. I think it's what did they say? It's going to warm up to 34.
When I was driving over,
what is that, like 1 or 2 Celsius?
I think it said like 32 or 33 on the thermometer on the car as I was driving over here. So yeah, it's a bit chilly today.
And they say in the next hour or so it'll start to drop.
But you know, you and I, we've been here. Well, I've been here my whole life. We're used to this.
We're used to it.
This isn't that cold, and we got a little bit of a breeze today, which I could do without, but we'll survive. But this is what we do for people to bring them this show.
We do not want to skip this.
Mm-mm. And I did suggest to you that we do it over Zoom, and you're like, no, we're going to get together and we're going to do it around a fire. So here we are.
Here we are.
And I like it. This was a good plan.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yep. Yeah, recording's still working.
Okay, that's good.
I'll just probably check it every so often. I don't know about you. Since working from home, I'm outdoors a whole lot more.
I spent the whole summer outside. I've spent a lot of time outside this summer, yeah.
And it's interesting. I thought that, like, I really see the very minute incremental changes that happen as the seasons come and go. And things actually go slower than I thought. Like sometimes, you know, when you're working a lot,
yeah,
all of a sudden you wake up and you go, gosh, wow, summer came faster. Wow, fall came faster. But when you're out here every day,
mm-hmm.
And like I was saying, I have a goal. I set a goal in 2020 to walk 6,000 steps a day. And actually, because I did 5,500 on average last year, so I bumped my goal up. Well, actually, my average this year is 7,500, so I'm way over my.
You overachiever, you.
I'm overachiever. Yeah. Though I'll probably keep it at 6,000. I'd like to add some other things next year. When I do my 2021 goals, which by the way is next week.
The goal show is next week.
The goal show is next week.
Right. When are people going to hear this episode?
It'll be the Tuesday before Christmas. It'll be the 22nd.
Oh, so next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember when this comes out.
It always comes out just before Christmas, and the goal show's between Christmas and New Year's.
Makes sense.
And then the show after that, I got Greg Salkovich. I just interviewed him. He is a recruiter for, only does sales, technology sales guys.
Okay.
And we talked about how hard it is to get a job during this pandemic.
Really?
Yeah. I know a lot of people looking for work. You would think it'd be easy to find jobs. it's not. Kind of explains why that is.
Okay.
What people can do to work around that. Super interesting conversation we had.
Yeah, well, a lot of our avenues have been clipped this year, right? You know, things that you would do to find a job. You're not going to hang out at the networking event at the coffee shop or the Chamber of Commerce or wherever you went to network and find people.
No.
You're not having those accidental conversations anymore. You have to be much more intentional this year about conversations.
I think what the big thing is, Brian Basilico, who's also been on the podcast, and
Yes.
I had a long talk about a week ago. I think it was a week ago today, actually. And I was saying that one recurring thing I hear in companies is that it's easy to do work from home when you've already worked together.
Yeah.
You've got your culture kind of figured out and all that, but people invariably are going to quit, or you're going to fire people, or people get ill, and stuff just happens, and you're going to need to bring new staff on.
How do you create culture when there's no shared space? Yeah, that's tougher to do. I mean, my company used to be all virtual, and we literally had never met in person and all worked together, and we had somewhat of a culture, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, but you built the business like that.
Right.
A lot of companies were not built for that.
Right.
This year I've talked to a number of people whose companies just freaked out. As soon as they get people back in the office, they did.
Yep. And I heard that, I think it was Google that said, don't get used to working from home. You're coming back to the office as soon as this is over. So, even some of the big technology companies recognize the importance of having you all in the same space. So, well, we should start with, what are we drinking today, Pat? This is the year-end show where we drink beer and talk about whatever.
Is this the year-end show, or did you say the beer-end show?
The beer-end show, yes. What am I drinking today? This is nice.
This is an English brown ale. I made this here at the homestead. As I was saying, one of my projects this year is to build a Keyser, which is a freezer that has a microcontroller on there to keep it at like 42 degrees.
Nice.
And I have a keg of beer in there, and carbon dioxide, and CO2 bottle, and I got a tap on it.
And it worked, because this is good.
And it's been fun tapping this beer. And my new project this fall is I bought a whole big brewing system, electric brewing system, an anvil. We'll probably talk about that more someday.
That's a whole nother podcast.
So I'm building a brewery.
Yeah.
I already have a microbrewery downstairs.
You're going to do the real deal now.
I'm growing all kinds of plants downstairs too, but I'm just moving it. This is how I kept out of the public this year. I had a big garden this year.
Yeah.
As you can see, I've done a lot.
You've gone total homesteader here.
Yes, it's just when I thought I wanted to move away, I've decided to.
You know, Janine and I discussed that this year as well, because we'd always said we wanted to move away, but now that we had to spend all this time at home, we kind of came to the conclusion, I don't know that we want to move.
That's exactly the same for me.
Yeah. I had this idea that I wanted to travel to all these different places and live here and live there, and now I'm like, I'm kind of glad of all the places I could be stuck. This is a great place to be stuck.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I can have all my projects and do what I want. And,
right.
I got great internet. I got a great office. It's lonely.
You can call me.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
So we kind of...
Which is actually, we're actually kind of getting to my list here.
Yeah. Well, we kind of called an audible on the list this year, didn't we?
Right. Because, why is that?
Well, in the past few years, when we originally did this show, I think the first time we did it, we called it the learnings of our learnings that year or something.
Yes.
And then at some point we switched to the tools of.
And we also changed the year.
Or the top tools. Yeah, we went from looking back to looking forward. Yeah, somewhere in there.
I almost want to look back again.
Yeah, and so now we kind of decided that this is kind of a year of reflection, again. Like, we're being kind of sentimental here around the fire today.
It is.
It's a weird vibe for the year-end tools show. But I think we both decided, like, doing tools this year doesn't feel right.
I've actually used quite a few tools this year.
Yeah.
And making a list for this show.
Right.
But I didn't love any of them hardly.
I think, we've done this for, I can't even remember what year this is now. This is year 7?
I think so.
We've covered a lot of tools. And I think we've covered more. We're moving faster than technology for sales. We've covered a lot of ground in those 7 years. And now I feel like I'm just making stuff up to share with people. And I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's not valuable to anyone.
I don't want to do that.
And I think that's where we kind of looked at this today and said, like, do we have that many tools to talk about? And
I'm still using a lot of the same stuff I've always used.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Yeah.
But what fun is that talking about them again?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I have a mixture on my list of. I do have a couple tools on my list, but I've also just got some thoughts from 2020.
And I liked your idea that we should do that. So that's the same thing. I have 5. I put 5 on here.
Yeah, I've got 5 as well, and it's kind of a mixture.
Yeah.
Of thoughts and tools.
I like it. So what's the first thing on your list?
First one on my list is the power of no. N-O. The power of no. This year, I took a look at everything I was doing in 2019 when we started 2020, and this was even before all the craziness, and just said, there's a lot of stuff I don't want to do anymore. And I kind of cleaned house in my business as far as the kind of customers I was working with, as far as my business model, and I just went with a much more, like, almost leading with no. Like, you have to talk me into it, because I really want to be excited about it, and my first inclination is going to be, no, I don't want to do that. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And that's been great this year. It has really been good. I'm just much happier this year, less stressed, and ironically enough, made more money than I've ever made. So, the power of no.
I think we had somebody on the podcast this year do something about go for the no.
Yes, you did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that's a different idea. That's the idea of
close every sale to have a
you don't hesitate if there's an objection that's hidden out there that's not been brought up. Make sure and flush it out, and
right.
Make sure that the prospects are totally on board.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're not just telling you crap, and then they ghost you later on. You can't close them.
Right.
But that's not what you're talking about.
I'm talking about being much more selective with my time and my what I want to do, how I want to spend my days.
I love it. That's a good one.
Yeah. I started out deep. I went right for something very heady right out of the gate there.
All right.
What's your first one?
This is the one I told you when we first said that's what we should do. I think the big thing that's in my head these days is that there's a buying process, not a selling process.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I've kind of always known that, and I've heard myself say that every so often,
you didn't feel that yet?
I totally feel it now.
Yeah.
And I think that when you embrace that, it really deeply changes how you approach selling.
Yeah.
Like if you think about the sales process, I actually got this written down here. You think about, you get leads, you qualify them, you try to schedule an appointment with them, you You try to do some discovery to see if they're a fit. There's a pitch. You deal with objections, and you try to close them.
Right.
And we have like pipelines, and it's programmed in our CRMs. That's that kind of process. Yeah. But that's not how people buy. Mm-mm. And the thing is, we all know how people buy because we're buyers.
Right.
But it's not in our head at all. So like that process is like, first off, you kind of recognize if I'm going to buy something, like this brewing system I just bought, I recognize I have a problem or a desire. Mm-hmm. And then step 2 is I ruminate on it for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
And rumination, does that include research, or that's just it's in your head and you're just kind of thinking about it?
It's just kind of bouncing around. Mm-hmm. And then I think what happens is you kind of become aware that there's solutions out there. Mm. Then you start investigating vendors.
Yeah.
Online.
Yes.
And you just kind of like looking around, and so like I've watched tons of YouTube videos on this stuff, and just tons of YouTube videos on this stuff. Going on forums and see what other people say. And then at some time, all of a sudden, that pain or desire becomes chronic enough that you want to do something about it.
Yeah.
And then you reach out to a vendor.
Yeah.
That is actually step 6.
Yeah. Or
now the vendor could very well, if they'd have done any of that other stuff on that other process, called me up or try to make a pitch or try to get an appointment, I was nowhere even. There's no way I would talk to them.
Right. This is where that playing the long game comes in. That most of the sales are in the long game. Only a very small percentage of people are actually in step 6. The vast majority of people were in your step 1 through 5.
And it just shows you the power of brand, which I've totally embraced this year.
Yeah.
That you got to get your name out there so that people are familiar with it. Like the anvil here I bought. Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen to be one of the videos you watched when you were learning,
did it? I picked up a flyer at a homebrew store last winter.
Yep.
And I go, this is beautiful. This is interesting. And I didn't think too much of it. And then I brewed some beer, and then I ordered some stuff from Northern Brewer, and all of a sudden, the anvil's up there. They're selling them. I go, well, that's not that expensive. I remember that.
Yeah.
The brand stuck in, the name didn't, but I recognized the pictures of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference in the purchasing. Mm-hmm. So it was like something I'd seen 8 months ago. For some reason, it had more gravitas to me. Mm-hmm. This is not some fly-by-night thing I'd never ever heard of. And you reach out to a vendor, you decide which ones of the solutions solve your problem or desire, and then you make a choice and sign a contract.
Right.
Which is not at all how we like. This is not how at all.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's pretty much that,
people buy on their time frame, not yours.
And to go back to the no, when people say no, I'm not interested, what they're really saying is, in my mind, no, not now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only time it's no, I'm not interested is like I chose another competitor.
Right. I bought it. It's sitting in my driveway. Sorry.
Right. But you could call them up in a year and say, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
But for right now, you're not going to get a sale.
Right.
It's a buying process, not a selling process.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting to come from the sales guy. Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting idea.
Yep.
Because there's lots of other stuff that goes with it. Like, I have an opinion, like, I anticipate that everybody I call is not a buyer. Mm-hmm. But let's just have a conversation. Let's just see if I can help them. Be a helpful hardware man and
right.
See if I can help them. Let's see. And every so often, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, right?
Yeah.
So I like your idea. It's a long game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We still recording?
It sure is.
All right. That's good.
What's yours?
We're still here.
What's your next one?
Oh. I lost my microphone. Just now. got stuck here.
Uh-oh.
It's stuck in the chair. Okay, hold on.
There's something I like about this. I watch a bunch of people living minimalistic lives on YouTube, but still tethered to the internet.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not very minimalistic if they're recording themselves all day.
But they're using solar panels and they're using Wii boosts, you know, and they don't got Comcastic service like I got here.
Well, my number 2 is going to take us way off of where we've been so far. So my number 2 is, you know how, so I don't know about you, but right now my entire business, my entire life lives in the cloud.
Yeah.
I don't keep anything on my computer.
No.
None of my files are on my computer. They are in Google Drive, maybe Dropbox, Evernote, all these other places. And yeah, I got them, maybe some of them on my computer, but I can't put my entire Google Drive on my computer. It just would not fit. And so I started thinking about this. This is true across people working on my team, myself. We've got all this stuff in Google Drive. And what happens one morning if I wake up and Google decides I didn't pay my bill, even though I did, and they deleted all my stuff? Or, I don't know, Google melts down? I don't know what could happen. But the more realistic option is probably like somehow they mess up my account or I mess up my account and it gets deleted. I'm really screwed. So, I bought this cool thing that's basically a server that sits in my basement, and it backs up Google Drive, it backs up Dropbox, it backs up everything, so I have it. Everything in the cloud is synced to, it's called a NAS, it's a network attached storage, and it's kind of like a mini server. And I got that, and I put that in my basement, and it just hums all day long.
It's got mechanical hard drives on it.
It's a RAID, which means that they're mirrored.
Yeah.
So it's got 4 hard drives in it, and if any one of them went out, all my data would still be there, even if one whole hard drive died. So again, it's just backing up the cloud for me. So if one hard drive died, theoretically it's still living somewhere out there in space. So I could get it, but even still, it's redundant. So if one dies, you just pull it out, put it in a new hard drive, and you're back up and running, and it mirrors itself. So I got that little toy because I started to worry about, I just got all this stuff, and it's in all these different services and places, and it's making me nervous. So that's kind of that's the most expensive thing I've ever recommended on this show, as far as tools go.
That's a lot. I don't have as much important data as you do.
Yeah.
Though I do worry about it. So I have like all my podcast episodes. All the original recordings are in Dropbox.
Yep.
Once they get recorded, they go to a hard drive, and they also get stored in Libsyn.
Mm-hmm.
So if Libsyn goes out of business, I got a copy.
Right. Yep.
And if I lose my copy for some reason, they're in Libsyn.
Yep.
I did have, I was using, what do they call that? One that comes with Windows. OneDrive?
OneDrive.
OneDrive.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to that. Subscribe to the iPhone one.
Yeah, and I think you can sync
the iCloud one. I got all my photos backed up on that.
You can sync those to this NAS as well. Whatever service you got, and it's also it acts as a server within my house, so I can log into that. It pulls data off of my computer, backs up my computer.
So if your internet goes down, you still have access to all your files.
Yep. They're all there if I needed them, even if I didn't have internet. Yep.
I wonder if people are hearing these trains going by.
Probably. It's pretty loud. And it's only, what is it, a block away?
It's 0.2 of a mile.
Okay.
The end of the lane.
It's pretty dang close.
When I first moved here, we had the windows open, like the first night.
Yeah.
Train went by. I thought it was coming right through the bedroom.
Right through the window.
Now I've gotten kind of used to it.
I grew up about this far from the train tracks, so I'm used to that.
I like the train.
Yep.
Look at that sun. We actually got some sun here.
And woodpeckers. They're probably hearing these woodpeckers and what else we got in here? Nuthatches and cardinals and all kinds of good stuff I've seen flying around.
Ton of geese this week. The deer this morning were everywhere. I got a bunch of deer over here. A mama with 2 baby ones, and there's some other adults in there too. But the mom and the 2 babies, they're hanging around here all the time these days, and they're not very scared of me.
No.
If I'm walking, they just kind of look at me.
You're kind of like their train.
Yeah, they're used to me.
You're just used to you.
He's always walking. Because I don't go anywhere.
So what's your number 2? Is it less than a server?
No. Something I've found this year, I really fell in love with again this year, was cold calling. Did I tell you this?
I think you and I talked about this on the phone a couple months back.
I had 3 clients this year where my job was to kind of figure out their whole cold calling processes and scheme. And especially one of them, they had HubSpot, which is a tool I really fell in love with.
Yep.
With the auto dialing capabilities on it.
Right.
Its ability to work with reports. There's just a special pleasure in sitting down in the morning with a cup of coffee and opening up all my monitors up and have my little book up and just start like banging away. Oh,
dialing.
Oh, got 5 new leads, 6 new leads. Oh, after done with that in about an hour and a half, and it just tells you, and you have all these follow-up calls, and you just click through them.
Did you?
I really, really, really enjoyed it.
And is that because you found more success with it this year? Like, what were people's attitudes different this year because of?
I think my attitude
2020,
different.
or your attitude was different. So how was your attitude different?
I don't know. It's like I always thought cold calling should be something more than it is, maybe. But it is what it is. And I was more accepting of it. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And my job is just to create conversations and slowly move people forward.
Mm-hmm.
Long sales cycle, very long sales cycle.
You're basically saying the same thing as your other one almost. The buying process. I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why the 2 feed into one another. It was through all this cold calling. They just come to realize you just got to take people where they're at.
Yeah.
And by having an attitude, I'm not really trying to shove anything down there in anybody's throats. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Conversations would go a long time. And a lot of people would say, I'm not really interested. Oh, I get that. I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
So why did you click on that Facebook ad, or why did you?
Right.
And next thing you know, 45 minutes, they're like, well, I might be. which I loved, and actually I kind of started to expect after a while that they're just going to say no.
Yeah, but then they're going to talk themselves
because they're in this. What's that step I called it? Ruminating.
Yes. Right. And that curiosity step. Yeah. And actually they've probably been ruminating on it for a while, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's an option. They become aware of an option. So it's not like sellers should do nothing. Yeah.
I'm not advocating that we just kind of wait till they call us up or they click on our website. And it doesn't hurt to call up and just kind of make them aware of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea that it might be a year, might be 6 months, might be 3 months. Who knows when they're ready?
Yeah.
And you put them on when the drip campaigns that you build for your clients.
Right. Yeah, that's where the long game comes in. And then when they're ready, you were there.
What was fun too was, especially for one, you call them up, had a script that was constantly changing, tuning it, and then I had a script that was similar. I would cut and paste into the email, and then I would text them.
And these were for people who had raised their hand?
So somehow had raised their hand.
Yeah.
And then in a week or so later, you'd have a different email, a different one, and you started tuning them, and then all of a sudden you can kind of see this could be an automated drip campaign.
Yeah.
Because you're starting to figure out the language, you know how to write it, you're like, which is where I see a lot of automated drip campaigns that come into me. It looks like they've never talked to a human being.
Right. Yeah.
They go, well, they try to make them personal. I'm like, well,
merging someone's name in there does not make it personal.
And making it 15 paragraphs doesn't make it personal, because people don't do that.
No.
Real email's like one paragraph. It's 4 sentences.
Right.
Just checking up on you. Neil, I was just checking up on you. Remember last week you said this. I was thinking that. I forgot. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. There's one other thing about our thing.
Yeah.
You know. If you want to learn more, here, check this link out.
Yep.
That's a real email.
Yeah.
That's an authentic email that people send to one another. Not the crap I get.
Yep.
Where they're trying to tell me some story and warm me up. And then I was lost. I wasn't sure what to do. But I got this one idea. You got room for 2 more high-paying clients?
No, I don't.
I really don't. No.
Yeah.
As if if I had a nickel for every, because I got consultant on my LinkedIn.
Oh, geez.
You got room
I had
for
to
2
block
more
somebody
high-paying
today
clients.
on LinkedIn.
There's like some idiot out there is teaching these people to write that. I interrupted you. I apologize.
Yeah, I had to block her today because she kept DMing me all those kind of things. Like, I don't know you, never met you. Why are you doing this? I evidently it must work, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't work with me.
Doesn't work with me.
I was not interested.
Next,
an actual tool. So, the one, and I'm surprised I haven't talked about this before, but I started using it more and more in 2020. I've been using it for years, but I started using it more and more this year because they added a new lower priced option, and that's Rev.com. Do you use Rev? Transcriptions. So Rev is transcriptions.
Actually, I have done transcriptions with them.
And this year...
Actually, I have. I know who they are. Yes. But I don't do it much.
Well, this year they added a new option that's a completely automated transcription service. No human looks at it. Which means it's only 10 cents a minute for transcription. So I take a lot of my client meeting calls, which I do over Zoom and are recorded, and I send them the recording and I get a transcription back of my call with my clients. And it's not perfect, especially like, proper names and things or anything technical, it butchers. But it's enough that I can go through and highlight, like, oh, there's something I need to do, here's something we talked about, without having to go back and watch a video, spend 30 minutes or an hour watching a Zoom video trying to refresh my memory on something. It's just, I can quickly scan through it because it's just written, or I can even just search for words, because now it's a Word doc. I can just, find, if I'm looking for a specific topic, I can just find it right in there. So, I love their new 10-cent option. Now they have the $1 a minute option still, which is a human being that's sitting there and goes through it and makes sure and those are usually really accurate. They're not perfect, but they're pretty accurate. But the 10-cent one, that's great for just making notes for yourself, basically, is how I use it.
When I was using HubSpot, we were making the calls out of that. It was great kind of having recordings of every phone call you make.
Yeah.
Because I go, what did I tell them last week?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. What did I say?
Yeah. I'm using it for that. I also used it for one of my clients. I was trying to get testimonials from their clients. So I did Zoom calls with the clients and recorded them all, sent them all to Rev, got it back, and then I could just highlight, like, okay, here's a quote I want to use as a testimonial, or I could say, give it to the video editor then and say, hey, between 2 minutes and 20 seconds and 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I want to pull that little clip and put that as part of our video testimonial montage. So then I just had this, because they'll give you the what do they call it? The timestamp on the video. The words and where they are in the time flow. Right. So then okay, this is at the 2 minute mark in the video, and I can give that to the video editor. It's just so handy. So handy. So that was my number 3, Rev.com, R-E-V.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. And I'm super surprised they haven't talked about it before, but used it more this year than I probably ever have before. Pat, deep in thought on his note.
I had another tool too. I started using DuckDuckGo.
You did. You went to the dark side.
No, I'm trying to leave the dark side. I mean, it's been interesting. People know what DuckDuckGo is. It's a Google extension that doesn't let Google track your cookies and all pixels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, you ever been on Forbes.com?
Yes.
It's like the most painful thing.
I can't go on it. I have to use another Chrome extension that just gives me plain text and gets rid of all the ads, because
DuckDuckGo will do that.
So annoying.
It'll take that away. Which is actually kind of cool. So you don't feel like you're being spied on as much.
Yeah.
Like we just hear the Russians just spied on us this week.
Currently spying. They haven't finished yet.
They're not done yet. So, it doesn't. I don't think the search capability is quite as good as Google, even though Google's the engine underneath it. But I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that I go to some places there's no ads, and the pages load faster, and that is pretty darn cool. Now there is one interesting thing that I've been finding more and more. I didn't recognize it at first. Some websites immediately recognize that I'm blocking all that.
Yeah.
And it pisses them off. They're mad.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you go here.
Oh, really?
Unless you open it up. Which one of these tools are you using?
Really?
And I look down there's DuckDuckGo, and I click DuckDuckGo, and then I can go in.
Huh. Do they disable it and then you go in, or what?
And then I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're collecting my information or something then. But if I really want to get there, you would think that I would rather have people show up at my website. But they're pretty other match. Look, if it's free, you're the product, right?
Right.
It's that.
Right.
It is that idea.
Yeah.
So, which reminds me, there was a very interesting daily as this today about breaking up Facebook. And Facebook's strong argument is look, it's free. You don't have to use it if you don't want to.
Right.
That we have monopoly because they also own WhatsApp and they also own Instagram.
Right. But where they are selling is they're selling the eyeballs, which could be argued a monopoly.
And it's actually costing you're paying for that.
Right.
With your time and your energy. Mm-hmm. They may be in trouble.
I don't know. There's a lot of suits now. This has happened before, right? This
Remember
is
the
not
Microsoft
new.
one?
What was
years
that?
ago? Microsoft had Internet Explorer.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last antitrust. So antitrust is not very common in the United States. We are not an antitrust country.
Right.
Compared to other countries, we don't. It's kind of the Wild West still here in the United States.
Yeah. I was just reading. I'm reading an old business book, which is always interesting. This is pre-Google, pre-YouTube, and it was talking about how Microsoft had to be careful because Netscape was going to come along and take all its customers. And I thought, well, they did get their ass kicked, but not by Netscape. This little thing that nobody had heard of yet, Cablelog, it took all their browser customers. Yeah.
But Google came.
Yeah.
And for the most part, Google's the only browser other than Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, which is struggling. They're the only ones that totally honor as best as anybody that W3C standard.
Yeah.
What are they called? W3. Yeah, I think I said that right.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
You're getting a little geeky on me.
But you guys...
Yeah.
Someone's laughing.
Well, I was just
Someone's laughing at me right now.
I was just reading this morning that Firefox is down to something like 3% of browsers running Firefox. That's like non-existent. Wow.
But it's software engineers.
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but
it's software. It's software
yeah.
people. Yeah. So that's my tool.
That's your tool. Well, I have another tool. I have another honest-to-God tool. Well, first of all, before I talk about this tool, I have to give the Sales Babble Underappreciated Hero of the Year award to Zoom. We have to acknowledge Zoom. And that's not my tool, but it's related to Zoom. But, like, how screwed would we have been in 2020 without Zoom, right?
Yeah.
And I've used Zoom for years, and the rest of the world has kind of caught up with me using Zoom now, but I look at it, and as much as I complain about it, and it was glitchy, and they changed it so much this year.
It's got too many windows. Why has it got too many windows?
Still, I could still count on it.
It's reliable.
I used it. I couldn't tell you how many hours of Zoom recordings I have.
And Google Hangouts was not reliable.
Yeah, I don't use that one.
Well, it's been discontinued. It's being discontinued.
Oh, that's right, because they're making me go to Google Voice for stuff, and
they moved to Google Meet, which is actually pretty nice. I use it a lot.
Yeah. But my point being, I have hours and hours and hours and hours of Zoom recordings, and again, it all lives on Zoom. And if you've ever tried to download your Zoom recordings, it's painful, because then now you got these huge files you got to transfer around, and so I found this amazing tool called Google Drive for Zoom by Splain, S-P-L-A-I-N, and it is an extension on your Zoom account that you connect your Google Drive, and it automatically takes all your recordings and moves them to your Google Drive.
Which then you can move it to your RAID server.
Yes, that is then downloading to my server automatically. Yeah.
Aren't you the clever soul?
So I've got all these files that just overnight magically move into my Google Drive, and then you got to go in there and organize them. You don't have to, but they're all there and backed up for me in my Google Drive now, thanks to this cool little tool. And it's the outrageous price of, I think, $2.99 a month. So that one's pretty affordable, and for the hours it would take me to download and upload video files, totally worth it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Zoom is something else.
Yeah.
I'm on a lot of Zooms.
Yep. I have one customer that still uses GoToMeeting. And I'm reminded of how much I hate GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
And how I don't think it's nearly as nice as Zoom.
Yeah, I'm on a GoToMeeting twice a month. Somebody uses it. And you can't see everybody with it. You can only like do 6 people at once. That's kind of weird. But I'm really falling in love with Google Meets.
Have you? I haven't done... No, I take that back. I did it once. I had somebody ask to meet me there.
I use it I have a standing meeting every week I use it for.
Yeah.
I don't need to record this stuff. I dropped my Zoom account.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't a lot of money. It was $15.
I don't need... I pay for it annually. I don't even remember what I pay.
It wasn't very much. I know that.
It's not outrageous, which is why I moved to it in the first place, because I used to be GoToMeeting.
Well, remember, see, I've been selling online using these kind of technologies since 2002.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you had WebEx.
Oh yeah.
And it was like $100 a month.
Yeah.
$2,002. So think about what that'd be now, right?
Yeah.
And then I found a solution called Glance that was like $20-$30 a month, quite a bit less, but it couldn't do audio, only video.
Yep.
So we would set the video up with them on the link.
And you had to call.
And then we'd call on the phone, and that worked. Mm-hmm. So selling online is, for me, this doesn't seem weird, but for a lot of people it's been weird. But for me, it's been very It's been something I've been doing for a long, long time.
Well, and I just love Zoom for what I talked about, that I can record it, unlike calling people, because sometimes people want me to call them, and I'd rather we did Zoom. Even if you call in, that's fine, because then I have the recording.
Yeah.
And I'm usually trying to show them something, and this is for clients. I don't do sales calls on Zoom. We had that conversation as well this summer, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was last year on the show. I don't remember, but we talked about, I'm not a fan of doing initial sales calls on Zoom.
No. In fact, I'm starting to get a lot of people say, can we just do a phone call?
Yeah.
And then I'll say to them, do you mind if I go for a walk? Sure. Do I need to be in front of a computer? No.
I don't want to be in front of a computer.
It's just a networking thing. I'm like, well, let me go down and check my mail. So I walk down, and that's 0.2 of a mile down, 0.2 of a mile back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the phone. I love the phone.
Yeah. I like it a lot better, and I think it's less pressure on everybody. You as the salesperson, them as the customer.
Oh, we should be clear here why we're kind of talking about this. We actually did an episode in, I think it was April.
Yeah.
That said, that crapped all over Zoom.
You and I did. That's right. That's right. I knew we had talked about this. I forgot that.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Because you and I were talking about something one day.
We crapped all over Zoom for initial sales calls or cold calls. Yeah.
We got done with the conversation. We go, we should record this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did.
So it's out there somewhere. Go find that. Pat will link to it in the show notes, I'm sure, because he's good like that.
Yeah. All right.
So what's your number 4? We're getting close to the end. We're about to run out of sun, too.
Oh, no.
No? You got some time?
It sets at about...
well, I guess we got about an hour.
Well, a week ago, it was like about 4:20.
Yeah, we got about 45 minutes.
Maybe like 4:10 now.
Yeah.
4 o'clock. That moves, actually, sunset moves kind of fast.
Yeah.
It just changes every day, faster than I ever realized.
Yeah, just suddenly...
There's all this stuff you just don't really notice.
When you're sitting in front of a computer all day inside.
All the time.
Yeah,
yeah, you know, and you're driving home and commuting and you don't realize it.
Right. So what's 4? Number 4. Drum roll.
There's 2 things here. Now, I feel like we already talked about it. I don't like being alone. This is what I've really learned about the pandemic is.
Yeah.
I really don't like being alone.
Well, you're quite the people person.
And
yes.
I really am alone here.
Yeah.
You know, although Denise's contract's up, and she's thinking about quitting, retiring. I don't know what she's gonna do.
Then suddenly
she'll be living back here, which will be awesome because she's a fun time. I really don't like living alone.
Yeah.
But with that said, there's a lot about this lifestyle I like. I like being outdoors all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm not driving into Foxville, I'm not driving places, not going to meetup, not going to network meetings, not doing any of that kind of stuff. Not seeing clients, doing everything over the phone, everything over Zoom. The second thing I like about it is I'm not eating out at all.
Oh, yeah.
And all those meals are like 2,000-3,000 calories. You know,
yeah.
I've lost like 16 pounds.
I apologize for bringing you the chicken sandwich.
Oh, like the worst of the food too. It's like it's called the suicide sandwich. It was actually very good.
It was. That's why it's a problem, because it's so good.
Yeah. I don't want to go back to that. In fact, we ate out sort of in a large tent like a couple months ago before the weather turned. And it was like so much food. And Denise and I are going, we got to start splitting these meals.
Yeah.
There's so many calories.
Yeah.
I like cooking for myself. I'm a pretty good cook. I've gotten better.
You and I have both lost a lot of weight this year. And I'm not quite sure if that's because I changed my diet this year, but also I'm not eating out 3 times a week like I was, which, like you said, way too much food. And I'm not, I changed my diet. So I don't know what contributed to the 15 pounds, but probably a huge chunk of it was that eating out.
I think half of it for me was. The other half of it was I kind of moved to a 16-hour fast. I can pretty much.
Oh, that's right. You only eat.
I stop eating at 7, and I don't really eat till 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I might move that around on the weekends, but
yeah.
And I think that's made a big difference too. That's been kind of fun. I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So that's a weird thing. Working from home has had its benefits. But there's a lot of people anxious.
Yeah.
That really troubles me. You talk to people on the phone, there's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of people struggling with their businesses. There's a lot of people struggling with their jobs. They're afraid they're going to lose them. I know a lot of people who've lost jobs. I just met a guy the other day, been looking for a job for quite a long time. I'd worked for like Oracle,
right.
This is not just some slob,
Well, this ties right into my number 5,
which is
none of this matters. I learned this year that none of this matters. We get all hung up on tools in our business and, my sales numbers and all this kind of stuff. And this year's just kind of stripped it back to what matters. And none of that was on my list. I'm more like the people who are anxious. I'm looking more at, watching the news and seeing huge lines of people for food. And suddenly, what tool I'm using for my sales, I don't give a shit anymore. None of this matters. Right? Yes, it matters, but it just, in the grand scheme of things, none of this matters. I've just had a very different attitude this year about business and that goes, back to my number 1, which was the power of no. It kind of ties in with that is that, just having a different, I don't know, not cavalier attitude or not a snarky attitude about it, but just not taking it as seriously. Not getting as tied up in it, not identifying with it so much anymore. Maybe that's a good word.
I was seriously listening to Seth Godin and Gary Vee and, Tropical MBA and all these business podcasts that I really like, And then when the pandemic hit, I quit listening to all of those.
Yeah.
I started listening to The Daily to keep up on the pandemic,
right.
what's going on, and then all of a sudden I started. And all of a sudden I can realize I don't even want to listen to business anymore.
No.
So I stopped that, and I started listening to Alan Watts Buddhism stuff and all this philosophy stuff and Stoicism.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And I was like, because it does talk about what is really important in life, and a lot of that stuff doesn't much matter. And the thing is too, what I found interesting is that if you get rid of all of that, your work actually can get better.
Yes. That's what happened for me this year.
You're more focused.
Yeah, I simplified. I didn't get as hung up on, I still had goals, but I wasn't all consumed with them. And I wasn't, fighting for every little bit, and it just, I had to give up a bunch of goals.
Yeah. Because people were not buying in the summer.
I think the other big part of it for me this year is just the gratitude. I look and go, of all the things I could be doing right now, I picked the right thing. And I don't know why or how, but I don't know why or how this happened and how I got here at this specific moment in time, but I'm in the right place at the right time, and not to capitalize on it, but just to not have to stress like I'm watching other people around me. I've had friends that have just went out of business, just closed their business. It had 20, 30 employees, and they were just gone overnight, and now they're trying to figure out what to do. I had some clients that pretty much shut down, and they're just trying to hang on. They laid off every single employee. They're trying to hang on. And then I've had other customers that have exploded this year, but for me, I'm just I don't have to worry I'm not stressed about that stuff. I've just been super grateful this year of the path I chose just by luck, happenstance, I don't know. But here I am, and I'm not sitting in that food line and worrying about where my job is coming from or where my next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
So, I took us down a couple notches. I'm sorry.
This is the last thing I want to say. It was on the list. One other thing I've kind of realized is that even though the election was really tough, and a lot of the election is about sales.
Marketing, yes.
Marketing, right?
Yes.
You know, and watching how people like do that.
Mm-hmm.
By living in a world of pretty uber educated people, and my wife living in a world of super not real educated people,
Mm-hmm.
that we are all in this country more alike than we're not.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what politicians
Want you to believe.
And it's really only the politicians that really want us to believe. I don't think there's a lot of business people think that way, or
Right.
that I've talked to people from all walks of life, and you find out that they mostly care about the same things I care about.
Yeah.
They care about their families. They care about their dogs.
Right.
They care about barbecue. They care about,
Yeah.
talk about stuff that, lawns and tools.
Yep.
They talk about kids. Talk about homes.
Yeah.
You can talk to people about more stuff you have in common than not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish, and I'm certainly going to be a proponent of this year, this next coming year, is that just to constantly look for that and stop this conversation like, oh, we're so split and we're on the verge of civil war, and it's just not in the United States. I got friends in the UK I talk to all the time, like, oh, they're the same thing,
Right.
I'm like, I doubt it.
Yeah.
This isn't 1861. This isn't 1968.
Yeah.
And we're more alike than we're not. And if we were to look for those commonalities, I guess this is a statement of gratitude too. I like that you used that word.
Yeah.
That you appreciate that the gods have smiled on you and you're in the right place at the right time.
Right. Yep. I do.
Yeah. It's been an interesting year. It's been unprecedented.
We got to get that word in here.
These are very troubled times.
Troubled, unprecedented times, Pat. Oh.
It'd be a great drinking game.
Oh, God. Yes, it would. It would. Well, you said it. I'm going to have to
do a shot.
I'm going to have to do some of this brown ale.
This thing says it's on low battery.
Uh-oh. Does that mean we have to wrap this up? We're still recording, right?
58 minutes.
Wow. Well, so much for the 30-minute show. Whoop. Oops. Lost that microphone again. Thing keeps getting pinched. Getting pulled off. So.
That's a pretty good beer.
Yes, it is. You did well. The anvil works. Was it the anvil you made?
I did not make that in the anvil.
Oh, okay. Well, you could have lied to me and told me.
I just got the anvil.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well,
what an awesome.
It's been fun, Pat.
This has been a lot of fun.
It's been fun. It's been a heavier show than in years past.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not our usual lighthearted Gibb show. Glib show. Not Gibb, not Andy Gibb or Barry Gibb, but Glib.
I hope people are excited about this. I know my wife was, because she was listening to last week's episode, because we were talking about Orange Squad stuff. And she goes, oh, Neil's coming? Oh, I'm not going to be there for it this year. Dang it. Because she's always usually here.
Yeah.
She's always usually...
She usually comes out and says hi after we're done recording.
Yeah, but she's not...
She won't be here for hours.
Until tonight, yeah.
Yeah, so I will miss her this year. So you'll have to say hi for me.
I will indeed. I will indeed.
All right. She could just listen to this. Hi, Denise.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Sales Babble. This has been fun babbling.
Yes, it has.
When Neil and I was sitting around the fire, we mentioned that the next week we'll be talking about the 2021 goal setting plan. Each year, I like to talk about what are you going to do next year? And I actually have some templates and some advice, and I'll be walking you through how to create your mission statement, your core values, your goals, the reasons for the goals, and the key behaviors you need to bring into your life and to integrate into your life in order to make those goals happen. We're going to have worksheets and examples. It's always a good time. It's a great opportunity for you to integrate your personal life with your professional life, make sure it all fits together. Before we wrap this up, if you would like to connect with Neil and his automated email consulting company, emailsplat.com, you can find links to him and his LinkedIn and my LinkedIn too in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com. And if you have a question or a comment about anything that we talked about today, you can also click the Babble Me button at the top of the website, at the top right. You can send me a message and it will come directly to us. We would be more than happy to answer any and all questions that you might have. If you enjoyed this episode or any episode in the past, don't be afraid to share it with your friends. That's the greatest way to get podcasts to grow and to get the word out. And now we have come to the end. Thank you very much for visiting us here on Sales Babble. I really appreciate it. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day. Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.